Women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
Yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain.
Tensions erupted on The View when Karoline Leavitt's appointment as White House press secretary sparked a heated debate among the hosts. What began as a routine discussion quickly escalated into a full-blown controversy, drawing nationwide attention. At the center of the argument was Joy Behar's claim that Leavitt, at just 27 years old, only secured her role because of her appearance. Behar suggested that former President Donald Trump had chosen Leavitt primarily for her looks rather than her qualifications. This comment immediately triggered backlash.
This young lady this is her first job, I would like her to do a little homework because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you, because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
With many accusing The View of hypocrisy. Critics pointed out that the show often promotes female empowerment, but seemed to have no issue tearing down a young conservative woman. Leavitt's credentials were quickly dismissed by some of the hosts, who focused more on her age and appearance rather than her experience. However, her supporters argued that she had already built an impressive career in politics, working in communications and media strategy long before taking on the role of press secretary. Whoopi Goldberg added fuel to the fire by claiming that Leavitt's position was due to wokeness, saying, "Without that wokeness, you might not have that job." This statement raised even more questions about how the term woke is being applied in political discourse. Leavitt pushed back, arguing that her appointment was based on merit, not identity politics. She emphasized that competency should be the deciding factor in leadership, rather than political ideology. As the debate raged on, it became clear that this was about more than just one person's job qualifications. It highlighted a broader issue in media: how conservative women are often treated differently than their liberal counterparts. When left-leaning women rise to power, they are celebrated. But when conservative women achieve success, their credibility is questioned. The controversy also revealed deep-seated biases in mainstream media. While The View's hosts frequently advocate for gender equality, their willingness to undermine Leavitt's accomplishments suggested a different standard for conservative women. This contradiction did not go unnoticed by viewers.
Women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
Was widely praised for making history as the first Black and openly LGBTQ+ press secretary. However, those same voices who championed representation seemed unwilling to acknowledge Leavitt's achievements without adding personal attacks. The discussion soon shifted from Leavitt's qualifications to a larger conversation about media bias and political double standards. Instead of focusing on her policy expertise, critics on The View reduced her role to superficial factors, an approach that many saw as unfair and dismissive. The debate intensified when Whoopi Goldberg shifted focus from Karoline Leavitt's statements about media trust to a broader discussion on identity politics. Instead of addressing Leavitt's concerns about declining media credibility, Whoopi framed the conversation around historical inequalities. She argued that wokeness played a role in breaking barriers. Because Black people couldn't get into colleges, because women couldn't get into the colleges they wanted. This is all women. However, Leavitt stood firm, challenging whether modern wokeness aligns with its original intent or if it has become a tool for division. Whoopi continued, claiming that Leavitt misunderstood wokeness, stating, "It's not a terrible thing to be. That's why we fought for you to stand at that podium." Leavitt pushed back, arguing that today's version of wokeness is less about equality and more about ideological conformity. Whoopi's attempt to reframe the issue didn't land as intended. The discussion quickly pivoted to a more controversial topic: claims made on The View regarding Elon Musk, and alleged political threats. Karoline called out the panel for spreading unfounded accusations while simultaneously criticizing conservatives for so-called conspiracy theories. She pointed out how legacy media narratives have changed over the years, often adapting to fit shifting political agendas. She reminded them that for years, mainstream media figures have mocked, criticized, and misrepresented political figures, shaping public perception without accountability. Karoline emphasized that millions of Americans no longer accept these narratives without question. Mainstream media figures aren't happy about. Her latest announcement? A game-changing shakeup in the White House press briefings.
Yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something.
According to Leavitt, the traditional media cycle has thrived on manufactured controversy. But with public trust in journalism declining, that era is fading. She emphasized that substance and policy discussions are becoming more important than media-driven distractions, signaling a clear political shift. As the debate continued, Whoopi Goldberg attempted to reframe the discussion, focusing on the role of wokeness in shaping civil rights progress. She argued that wokeness had been instrumental in expanding opportunities. "Without that wokeness, you might not have that job," Goldberg stated. However, Leavitt challenged that comparison, questioning whether modern political activism truly aligns with historic civil rights movements. She pointed out that advocating for ideological uniformity contradicts the original mission of inclusivity and open discourse. The exchange quickly became a broader discussion on how modern political terminology is being used, particularly in shaping public perception. Karoline argued that discrediting opposing views in the name of progress contradicts the very principles of open dialogue. Whoopi defended her stance, arguing that societal shifts require active advocacy. But Karoline countered by emphasizing that advocacy should welcome all perspectives, not suppress dissenting voices. The tension in the studio was palpable, and social media erupted once again with audiences debating both sides of the issue. As the fallout from this conversation continues to unfold, one thing remains clear. The debate surrounding political discourse in mainstream media is far from settled. For decades, organizations like the Associated Press and White House Correspondents Association controlled press access. But now, that control is shifting, she declared. 2 front-row seats once reserved for White House staff will now be given to independent media voices willing to challenge established narratives. And if that wasn't enough to cause outrage, Leavitt also restored press passes for 440 journalists whose credentials were revoked under the Biden administration. Now that Karoline Leavitt is holding media figures accountable, suddenly The View wants to talk about journalistic standards. But as their attempts to undermine her continue to backfire, one question remains: how much longer can legacy media keep up the charade? If you like this video, then subscribe this channel.